Welcome back to my kitchen for another healthy cooking class here at Cook With Me TV. I see we have several people on, so I just want to say hi first. Hey, Evan and Casey, good to see you guys. We miss you guys. Hey, Miriam, good to see you. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Diane, Lindsay, and C Chow. Thanks for joining from down below. So tonight, yay, Diane is here. And are you cooking tonight, Diane? Are you cooking with me? I know there's a few people who are cooking with me tonight, so I am super excited for this. And what I'm gonna do is give y'all some time to get out your ingredients and your utensils for that if you have not already. So if you don't know, we're making pumpkin mac and cheese. Yes, pumpkin mac and cheese. I know it sounds a little strange, but it's really, really good. It combines a nice fall flavor, right, of pumpkin. We're in fall now, so it's time to use all of that wonderful fall produce, although we are using canned pumpkin tonight, but that's okay. I mean, if you want to go the extra mile and buy a pumpkin and cook it and then puree it down and use it for this recipe, by all means, have at it, but we're taking some shortcuts tonight. In that arena. So again, getting out all of the ingredients that you'll need. You're going to need pasta, whatever pasta you have on hand. I'm going to use shells just because I love shells in a mac and cheese recipe. It's just a really fun, nice shape. What I love in particular is the cup shape of a shell, which can hold all of that wonderful ooey gooey cheesy sauce. So that's why I'm choosing these. I did put on the recipe whole wheat shell pasta if you could find it. Sometimes you can't find it, no big deal. I was able to use it last week, which was great, but we're just gonna go with a regular plain white shell pasta tonight. You could use a whole wheat rotini, a penne. You can use any shape that you want in this recipe. Oh, you got invited out to eat, so I'm assuming you're not cooking with me. That's okay though, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you made it. Hi, Miriam. Okay, so for those of you who are cooking with me, just let me know if you have any questions along the way. How this works is I'm literally going to just walk you through the recipe. So we are going to cook together, and then stay tuned for after the class because tonight I'm doing a special edition of Eat With Me. So what I'm going to do is go into the dining room, sit down, eat, and talk a little bit about some mindful eating techniques that can help you not only enjoy your food, but help you feel like you don't need to eat as much of it. Because something I hear most often is, I feel like I have no control when I'm eating pasta. It's just so good, and I find myself overindulging on it. And then when I'm done, I feel really uncomfortable. I also feel really guilty because I've just overloaded on carbohydrates, and now I feel like I'm probably gonna gain weight. I feel like I'm not eating healthy. So all of those negative thoughts of eating start creeping in. And so what we're going to do is talk about some mindful eating techniques that can help you slow down, really enjoy your food so you don't feel like you have to overindulge on pasta. So stay tuned for that after the class. Canned pumpkin is the bomb, says Diane. Fresh pumpkins are only a source for seeds. Yes, which are delicious, right? Those pumpkin seeds. I agree. I agree. Thanks, Mom. She likes my shirt. Okay, so all of that rambling, you've probably had time to get out your ingredients. So the first thing that we're going to do to make this pumpkin mac and cheese is get our pasta water boiling, because that's going to take some time. So go ahead and get out a large pot, and we're going to fill it with water. We're also going to salt this water. Don't be afraid of salt when it comes to cooking pasta. And while that's running, I'm just going to show you, I'm just going to use a basic iodized salt. I'm not going to use a nice sea salt or like a fancy pink Himalayan salt to salt my pasta water. It's kind of a waste because the pasta is only going to absorb so much of the salt in that water. You're really going to discard most of it. So don't use a nice fancy salt for this. We are going to use a pretty good amount of salt. Right, so I've got my pot of water full. I'm gonna put it on the stove, turn it on to a high heat. We just wanna bring this water up to a boil. Nothing tricky about this. So with the salt, I'm gonna put a pretty good palmful of salt. So it's gonna be roughly a tablespoon. And I know that seems like a lot, but like I said, your pasta is not going to absorb all of this cooking water, right? So you're gonna leave behind quite a bit of salt. So don't worry about that. But we do wanna start to build flavor with our pasta. And the simplest way to do that is to add salt to your pasta water. Put a lid on it, traps the heat, makes it boil a little bit faster, unless you live in Colorado, where you live at altitude, and then of course your water takes a little bit longer to cook. Janet, I don't know if Janet's on right now, but she lives in Colorado, and her water takes a little bit longer to come up to boil. At least it did last time she cooked with me. Okay, so then while that pasta water is cooking, the next thing we're gonna do is start getting our wonderful cheese sauce together. So if you're not familiar of the term roux, R-O-U-X, we're gonna start with a roux. It's a basic French cooking term that means you're mixing melted butter with flour, and that is going to be used as a thickener to really create a nice, creamy, thick sauce. I know that probably doesn't sound healthy to you, but that's okay. We're gonna talk a little bit more about those kinds of things at the end of the show. But we're using a very small amount of butter and flour in this recipe, and it really makes a huge impact in the consistency of this sauce. So I recommend not skipping this step. And again, you know, we're gonna also have a nice side salad with this, so we're balancing out the nutrition of this meal. So don't feel guilty if we're using butter and flour in this recipe. Before we get to that part though, let's get our cheese ready to go. I did not buy pre-shredded cheese. We just have a block of cheddar. So I'm going to grate this and get it ready so that all I have to do when I need it is throw it right into my pot. So if you're doing the same thing, go ahead and get to grating that cheese. And I'm using a full pound of pasta tonight, as well as a full pound of cheese. And what I like to do is just grate it straight into a bowl so that you don't really lose any on your cutting board. It just keeps it a little cleaner around the kitchen. Hey, Shelly, good to see you. What's going on, girlfriend? Ooh, Shelly, you're marked as a top fan. That is awesome. And so the fun thing about this recipe too is the cheese, right? You don't have to do just plain cheddar. You could do a combination of a few different cheeses, which would give it a completely different flavor. It might even add to the richness of the flavor. Actually, last time I tried adding some goat cheese in, and that was pretty nice. But I think like maybe mixing up a cheddar, which is a little bit, depending on the type of cheddar you get, you know, you can get a sharp cheddar, but if you're getting just a plain mild cheddar, you could switch up the flavor profile by adding something a little bit more sharp, maybe like a dried Parmesan or Asiago. I don't know, what kind of cheese do you all like? I'm sure somebody on here has made their own mac and cheese before. Hey, Michelle. We've got two Michelles. Michelle Ferris. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. Just grating some cheese here. So yeah, I'm sure that someone here has made mac and cheese at home before. So do you guys have any cheese preferences when it comes to mac and cheese? Have you found that some cheeses melt better than others? Let me know. So like, for example, you probably wouldn't want to do mac and cheese with mozzarella, because mozzarella will get stringy. It doesn't really melt. So the consistency would be a little strange. Ooh, Michelle Ferris, mild cheddar and Gouda. Gouda's a good one. Ooh, that's a good one. I have not tried that. Okay, almost done here. And yes, pre-shredded cheese is going to be a little more convenient. Obviously, you wouldn't have to do this step. However, I will say there's a few, there's pros and cons to these things, right? So in my opinion, buying the pre-shredded stuff is going to be more expensive. So if you're trying to keep things on a budget, just buy the whole block of cheese and shred it yourself. The other thing is when they make the pre-shredded cheeses, they have to put anti-caking agents and some other preservatives and additives to keep the cheese pieces from sticking together. So if you're someone who really, if you eat a lot of cheese and you're buying a lot of pre-shredded cheese, maybe that's something you would want to consider. So maybe rotate buying pre-shredded versus buying the whole block cheese. Some of those preservatives and additives can disrupt your gut microbiota and either cause digestive issues or exacerbate some current digestive issues. So that's the reason behind that. Okay, just trying to get all this cheese out here. So if you are cooking with me, let me know how it's going. Let me know. Ooh, someone said, Asiago rocks. Can't imagine it with mac and cheese. Yeah, you know, it's actually, I've put it in. I don't remember exactly what combination I did Asiago with, but it was pretty good because like I said, it added that kind of like pungent, sharp flavor, which was a nice balance with whatever else I had in there. Okay, so let's go make the roux. So go ahead and get out you're either gonna want a large deep saute pan or a pretty big pot. And we're gonna start by putting in a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of flour. So go ahead and heat your pot or your pan. Just put it on a medium heat. We don't want anything too high. Definitely use some real butter here. No margarine. And olive oil won't really give you the same product either. So I recommend using butter. Okay, so we've got about a tablespoon of butter in there. We're gonna do a tablespoon of flour. I'm gonna use some whole wheat flour. You could also use regular white flour. We also have a spelt flour and a rye flour. I've never used those, so I don't know if they would work. Ooh, watch out, geeks. Okay. About a tablespoon of flour, and then you're gonna wanna get a whisk. So once all of this melts, what we're gonna do is just cook the flour in the butter for not even a minute. Just for a little bit. And then we're gonna pour our 1 cup of milk in. And we're gonna whisk. We're gonna whisk like crazy. So what that's gonna do is that butter flour mixture is going to thicken up the milk. And then we'll add in the cheese. And that's when we start the ultimate sauce creation. Just let that kind of melt down. How's everyone doing so far? Let me know. Michelle is saying, the producer called and had me do a few videos. Is going to have me and my friend on the show. Yay. Awesome. That's exciting. I know you've been really working hard to make that happen. So that's awesome, Shelly. Congratulations. Okay. So let's get in here. Things are going to get a little squirrely for a couple of minutes. Like your butter flour mixture will get a little clumpy. And it might feel like you're not doing things right, but I promise you are. So just stick with it. Okay. So you're going to have like some clumps that looks like this. Again, that's okay. So what we're going to do is just pour in a little bit of this milk at a time. Don't pour the whole cup of milk in. And then just use your whisk to whisk that flour into the milk. I apologize if this whisk sound is really annoying. You can use a wooden spoon, but you're eventually going to want to use a whisk when you get all of that milk in. And then once your flour is pretty well whisked into that little bit of milk, go ahead and pour a little more milk in and do the same thing. Feel free to mute this if it's driving you nuts. Now that I'm thinking more about it, it's kind of driving me nuts. Okay, I'm going to pour the rest of this in. Okay, so now we're just going to let this kind of hang out. You've got this on a medium heat, so it's going to slowly come up to a simmer. Excuse me. And so what we're going to do now is add our pumpkin in and our spices in. So then we'll use the whisk again and whisk all of that good stuff in. So go ahead and get your pumpkin, your canned pumpkin out, and a can opener, and we'll open that up. Michelle, I forgot your other puppy's name. It's Riley. Riley and Kiki. Ooh. And we're going to use... I'm going to start out with half of a can of this pumpkin. If you absolutely love, love, love the pumpkin flavor, then you can add a full can, but I recommend starting with just half of a can first because it actually is pretty strong. And also you want to consider, like, do you really want more of a pumpkin-y flavor in this mac and cheese, or do you want more of like a cheesy flavor? Because if you add the full can of pumpkin, it will compete over the flavor of the cheese, and so you kind of lose that cheesiness and you have more pumpkin flavor. So I recommend just starting out with half a can, and then we can always add more after. And pumpkin, just like all of those other brightly colored orange and yellow fruits and vegetables, this is rich in vitamin A and beta carotene. So we know that vitamin A is good for our skin. It's good for our eyes. Beta carotene can help improve night vision specifically. But also beta carotene is a potent antioxidant, which means it can help scavenge free radicals in your body and prevent cancer, which is huge. So getting dark green and orange fruits and vegetables in your life daily is going to help you fight cancer in your body, which is pretty amazing. It's the beauty of food. Food is medicine, right? Invest in your health now by learning how to cook healthy meals, eating more plant foods, fruits and vegetables, lots of color, and prevent disease later on. It's a pretty good trade-off, I think. Right. If you are going head first and just using the whole can of pumpkin, you will need to add more milk. So another cup of milk is going to be warranted if you do that. Okay, so then next we're going to do our spices. As I mentioned in the recipe, in the ingredient list, pumpkin pie spice is just a very convenient thing to have for this because it's got a nice combination of cinnamon, clove, ginger, all those other spices, warming spices that kind of create that pumpkin spice flavor. So we're gonna do, I have about a teaspoon or two of this. I don't want too much in there because it can be overpowering again. We'll whisk that in. If you don't have pumpkin spice, you can use, like I said, any combination, a little bit of cinnamon, a little bit of clove, ginger, cardamom. Oh yes, this is good. This is wonderful. We're also going to do about just a small pinch of salt in here. Okay. I'm going to turn my heat down. If you're finding that you're bubbling up and pumpkin is flying everywhere, turn your heat down a little bit. Okay. Depending on, again, how much pumpkin you put in, you may find you need a little bit more milk. I'm going to add just a touch more milk because I know that I'm going to put some cheese in there and it's going to get a little thicker. So at this point, I'm really just trying to figure out what kind of cheese sauce consistency I want. This is a little too thick. I want it to be just a little thinner. So I just added about maybe a quarter cup more liquid. Okay, and then the fun part, the cheese. Go ahead and add in all of your cheese. And we're going to slowly let this melt into the pumpkin. It smells so good already. So I know that it might sound like a strange combination, but if you think about it, pumpkin, it does have a little bit of naturally occurring sugar in it. It is a starchier vegetable, so there are going to be some sugars in there. And then when you add a pumpkin pie spice and put in those kind of sweet spice flavors like cinnamon and clove, you think of sort of sweet flavors, right? But then we're balancing out that sweetness with the savory and saltiness of cheese. So it's really that sweet, salty combination that we're creating here. So it's delicious. Okay, and this will take some time. So let's check on that pasta water and see if we're boiling. Because if so, we can drop the pasta. Not quite. It's getting there. The thing about the cheese sauce is you don't really want to walk away from it until you know it's done. You might burn it, which is never good. And this consistent whisking is going to help give you that smooth, creamy, velvety texture. What's everyone thinking so far? I have to say, I wasn't very hungry when I started cooking, and now that I'm smelling this cheese sauce, I'm getting a little hungry. Okay. I'm going to let this hang out for just a second. I'm going to go ahead and drop my pasta water in. There are bubbles, little bubbles forming on the bottom of my pot here. So it looks like the water is about to come up. I'm just going to go ahead and bite the bullet and dump it in. Let's see. Michelle is saying, I've always heard that pumpkin takes on the flavor of what you're cooking it with. Is there truth to that? I think there's a little bit of truth to that. I mean, I do think that there's going to be more powerful flavors that you could use with the pumpkin, but this one, you know, I consider cheddar and pumpkin spices to be pretty powerful, but you can still kind of taste the pumpkin in here. So I don't know. I think it just depends what you're using. Mom is saying it's looking good. Wonderful. I am going to give this a quick little stir. Stir your pasta once you pour it in. If not, sometimes it'll stick to the bottom or the pieces will clump together and not cook fully. All right, put that lid back on, let it cook. Oh my gosh, this smells so good. Back to whisking. You know what? I think I'm going to experiment because we do have Asiago here. What do you think? Should we add some in? Maybe I should taste it first. Let me taste it first and see what's going on here. Oh my gosh, that's so good. So this is super cheesy. It's really good. And there's just the slightest bit of pumpkin flavor. I think I'm gonna add a tiny bit more pumpkin, just like a spoonful. I just want a little bit more pumpkin flavor in there. So with cooking, taste and adjust as you go. You can always follow a recipe for things that you've never made before, which is always a good idea, so you can kind of see what it's supposed to be like. But if you don't feel like following a recipe, you can still cook. Just try something, you know? Taste it as you go, adjust the flavors. Maybe it needs a little bit more salt, maybe it needs more pumpkin, maybe it needs more cheese, whatever it is. So I know I just said I might throw Asiago in, but this is just so good right now. I hate to mess with it. I think I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it. False alarm, false alarm. Oh, boiling over. Whew. Okay. Pasta is officially boiling and cooking. So what I'm gonna do now is just throw a very simple side salad together with those mixed greens. So go ahead and get out your mixed greens and a big bowl that you're going to put it in. If you're serving, 2 or 4 people, you can also use a bowl if it's just you. And what we're gonna do is put the dressing in here first. Oh gosh, you know what? Y'all, I'm so sorry. I totally forgot the fresh herbs. Is anybody cooking with fresh herbs? If you are, in the ingredients, it says to do some fresh sage and basil or whatever you have. I'm gonna go ahead and throw just a couple leaves of sage into that cheese sauce real quick. I completely forgot about it. Oh, pumpkin seeds would be great in the salad. That's such a good idea. I don't have any. That is a good idea. So if you had a full, a whole pumpkin, there you go. That's what you could use the seeds for. So I'm just using 4 small leaves of fresh sage, which is what I consider a fall herb. Typically we think of sage to go in like chicken dishes, but you can really throw it in anything, and it does go really well in this cheese sauce because there's squash in there, there's pumpkin in there, there's fall in there. Okay, so we'll just throw this in, whisk that one more time. Whoop. Ah, I didn't mean to use this spoon. Let that cook. Once your cheese sauce has come together really nicely, the cheese is melted, it's nice and smooth and creamy, turn your heat to very, very low or just turn it off because you don't want to break the cheese, so to speak. You don't want it to curdle, clump together, because sometimes there will come a point where the cheese is no longer melted until it's smooth and creamy, but it then starts to overcook and the protein separates, and then it's just not as nice. So I just turned my heat down to low. Okay, back to the salad. Oh, Diane, you grow sage. We grow sage too, and we have a ton of it right now. It smells so good. What else do you use it for? What have you thrown it in? Give me some ideas. Give me some ideas. Back to the bowl. Okay, olive oil and vinegar. Whoop. So what we're gonna do is make the dressing in the bottom of the bowl and then toss the salad greens with it. So I'm gonna do just about 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 tablespoon of vinegar. Kind of eyeballing here. If you're not comfortable eyeballing, go ahead and get your measuring utensils out, measuring spoons. Ain't no shame in measuring. Okay, and then we'll whisk that together, or you can just use a spoon to whisk it, to stir it all together. I know we have a little baby whisk here somewhere. Oh, but I can't find it right now, so I'm just going to use this other whisk. I'm just going to rinse it real quick. Oh, there it is. I see it. we'll just whisk this together. And of course you could use any salad dressing that you really like or that you have on hand, but I just wanted to show you a really, really simple way to do a nice, easy homemade salad dressing. So that 2 tablespoons of olive oil and 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar gives you a really nice, creamy, simple dressing. We can add some fresh herbs in here. So I do have some basil, which I think I am going to add in here. Just going to kind of tear it up. Throw it in. Perfect. And then what we'll do is throw our greens right on top. Keeping things simple here, huge container of mixed greens. We live in a house with 4 people, so we go through a lot of greens. But this is the simplest way to get some veggies in your life every single day. You can just take it out, make a quick salad. You can put this on your sandwiches. You could throw it into soups or stews or rice dishes. So it's already washed. You don't have to wash it yourself. Very, very simple way to get your greens in. And I'm not adding anything else to this. I'm just doing a basic mixed green salad with some balsamic vinegar and olive oil and calling it a day. Like, salads don't have to be complex and a ton of ingredients. So now just use some tongs or just 2 spoons to toss your greens in that wonderful dressing. Oh yes, this looks good. And a little trick that I've learned at restaurants. Why do restaurant salads taste so good? Because they add a little bit of salt on their leaves. So I'm going to do that tonight. I'm just going to add a little bit of salt. Just a pinch. Again, salt helps to bring out natural flavors of your food. So do not be afraid to use a pinch here and a pinch there while cooking. Diane is saying soup, stews, chicken, some fish, and of course turkey. Yes. I've replaced my baby whisk 3 times. They disappear. Don't they? That's hilarious. Okay. I think I'm going to add just a little bit more salad in here. I have to say, so the family earlier, like this weekend, was saying how they kind of feel like they haven't been eating as many vegetables lately, and they're just kind of like craving like a big salad or just lots of vegetables. And I think that's partly my fault because being pregnant, vegetables haven't really sounded very appealing to me, especially raw vegetables. So I just haven't really been making them as much. And I fear that I have now led the family astray to not eat as many vegetables. Bad dietitian here. Okay, so this is good. This is done. Done. I would really, if you do it this way and put your dressing on ahead of time, I wouldn't try to store mixed greens that are already dressed because they'll get really wilted and mushy and not very good very quickly. So just make enough for tonight, or don't pre-dress your salad if you want to save some. Diane, where do you get that giant size greens container? I believe Hy-Vee and Kroger have this size, and Aldi has it as well. But I think Aldi, I don't know if they do spring mix, but they do spinach for sure. Okay, let's check that pasta. It's probably ready to drain at this point. If you're using a whole wheat pasta, it is going to take a little bit longer to cook. Ooh. Yes, this pasta is done. And I can tell by looking at it because there's no opaque bit in the pasta shell, which would mean there's, it's still hard in the middle and it needs to cook a little bit longer. But you can always just taste a piece. Let one cool down, taste a piece. Okay, so go ahead and drain your pasta with a colander. in your sink. Woo. Okay, I'm just gonna leave this pot hang out. We're not gonna need this pot again. So just get it out of the way. Because what we're gonna do is just put that pasta right in here. Mix it all together. Oh gosh, I'm so excited for this. Hey Jessica, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Shelly, you can always drink your veggies. I did that years ago when I was pregnant. That's not a bad idea. And I was doing a lot of smoothies like in the first trimester too. So I was trying to throw, like handfuls of spinach in there, kind of mask the flavor of the spinach, right? Okay. Give your pasta a little shake in the colander because those little shells are going to hold some water. Just try to get it all out. And then, we're going to dump that pasta right into the pumpkin cheese sauce. Mix it all together. I'm going to use a spoon now. The whisk may kind of break up your pasta shells or your pasta in general. So this is super, super, super creamy. I think adding that extra bit of pumpkin gave me a little bit more cheese sauce to pasta ratio, but that's okay. I'm not complaining. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. Okay, so let's just get a bowl and let's dish this puppy out. If you are cooking with me, let me know how yours turned out, what's going on with it. Okay, scoop some out. So like I said, I'm going to sit down and eat this and talk about some mindful eating techniques. So you might be thinking, well, how much pasta am I supposed to put into my bowl right now? So what I want you to do as an experiment is to just put in however much. I'm not going to tell you how much you need to put in, because what we're going to do is talk about some hunger and fullness cues that we can kind of tap into, which will help us determine how much we actually need. So this looks so good. Oh my gosh. What I'm going to do is put some salad greens right next to it. Remember, we're always trying to get some vegetables in, half a plate vegetables. The other half is protein and carbohydrate. If you're one of those people who doesn't like your food touching, absolutely just serve your salad in a different bowl. Not a problem. Okay. Woohoo! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to eat this. Okay. So, if you are cooking and eating with me, I am going to take just a second to move into the living room. So just give me about 2 minutes and I'll see you right then. Okay. Let me fix this a little. This is so exciting. This is the first time I've ever done this before. You're eating with me now too. Not only are you cooking with me, you're eating with me. Okay, so I just want to make sure you can see everything. This looks good. First things first, I need to dive in and taste this mac and cheese. It's so good. It's so good. And like I said, the little cups of macaroni, I'm sorry you can't see that, it's so bright right there, are cupping and holding the delicious pumpkin cheese sauce. So good. So, before I start talking about mindful eating techniques, I'm curious if you have specific questions about either mindful eating, intuitive eating, or if none, let me know how eating pasta makes you feel. Like, do you feel like it's a bad food? Do you feel like you're going to gain weight if you eat pasta? I'm just curious to know what everyone's thoughts and perceptions are about pasta before we dive in. Yay, it worked. The salad greens are really good too. Olivia is also very happy with this meal. Do you ever eat steak or beef roast pork? All of the above. I eat steak. We made some nice steak, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks ago. It was really good. I also had some hamburger meat this past week. We did ground beef in a pasta sauce, which was really nice. Beef roast, yes. I don't ever make it. I guess I've just never really cooked it before, so it's not something that I cook often. I've done beef stew before using not beef tips, but stew meat. And it didn't come out very well because it was just really tough and dry. I think I overcooked the meat a little bit, so still perfecting that. And pork, yes, I love pork very much. Pork tenderloin especially, and bacon. Bacon counts as pork, right? I actually had some bacon yesterday. Yeah, so and if anybody on here is interested in having some more recipe inspiration, you can follow me on Instagram. I do post most of my kind of like what I'm eating here and there. And so I'll post bacon on there and pork on there too. So that's a fun way to find that. I know it seems like I don't ever really cook much meat on the show. Bacon. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into the mindful eating techniques. And what I'm going to do is kind of practice it with you. I don't know if you're eating dinner right now. Is anybody eating dinner right now and watching this? Oh, sorry. Real quick, Michelle, I saw your. Oh, Shelly said you'll love the last trimester because you get lots of cravings and can eat what you want any hour. I was a brat often around 2 a.m. with cravings. Oh my, 2 a.m.? Oh, that time will come. I've had some cravings here and there. Nothing too crazy. Michelle, isn't it a cup or a cup and a half, depending on what each person needs? That's a good estimate. That's a good kind of range to shoot for. Usually that will fill people up, especially if they're having some kind of vegetables along with it, which is important, right? Balancing out that plate. So that's a good range to shoot for. Shelly also is saying, I like all food now. I used to be scared to death, but I'm good with anything. But bummed out that I developed an allergy to one of my favorite fruits. Oh no. I still don't believe the doctor. I think it was something else. I'll still eat it. Oh, so it makes your ears swell 20 after you eat it. Oh, so strange. What fruit is it? Michelle Ferris, I thought I had pumpkin at home, so I didn't purchase any. I instead cooked up Hubbard squash, and served half a cup of mac and cheese over the piece of squash. Oh, I love that. What a good improvisation. That's perfect. Sherry, what was the sauce with the ground beef and pasta? That was just a basic red sauce. We grow some tomatoes here, but then also we have a neighborhood friend who's growing lots of tomatoes, and she just keeps bringing tomatoes over. So we were overflowing with tomatoes last week. And so I just chopped up the tomatoes and sauteed them down with some onion, garlic, balsamic vinegar, olive oil, and just made fresh herbs like basil and rosemary, and made a very basic, simple red sauce for pasta, and then cooked the ground beef and put that in there because we had ground beef in the freezer and we were kind of all feeling, or maybe I'm speaking for everybody, I was feeling like I wanted some meat that day. So we threw the ground beef in there too. And then we just put that over some fettuccine pasta, and then had some, what did we have with it? Some kind of salad with it, like a spinach salad or something like that, pretty simple. But yes, when you're making your own red sauce at home, I highly recommend using like a balsamic vinegar. It really adds a nice little tang and a little deeper flavor there. Diana's saying, hearing goofy stuff about turmeric, I love it, but getting bad press. What goofy stuff about turmeric are you hearing? Let me know. Heather, first time cooking with you. Yay, and now eating with you. I'm so excited. Did your mac and cheese turn out well? Let me know. What did you think? What did you think? Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this mindful eating stuff now that I know someone's eating with me. I'm super excited. Okay, so you've probably heard the word mindful eating before, right? And so what it entails is that you mindfully eat your meal, and you can do that in many different ways. But the idea behind it is to mindfully eat so that you can fully experience the flavors of your food. You can really taste it. You can smell the aroma. You can feel the textures in your mouth. You can eat slowly. And doing this helps you to feel satisfied when you need to feel satisfied. It helps you to really listen to your inner cues of fullness so that you can actually stop eating when you're full, when you recognize that you're full. If you're eating very distracted, in front of the TV, on your cell phone, in front of the computer while you're working, you're paying attention to that, right? You're not paying attention to what you're actually eating. So those distractions won't help you to eat mindfully. So here's just a quick list of some techniques that you can use. So the first one is to remove the screens, right? Stop eating in front of the TV. I'm not saying that you can't ever eat in front of the TV, but a lot of the people that I work with are trying to practice eating more mindfully. And this is the number one thing that they're starting with, is to not eat in front of the TV. It's a very, it's something that we just get into the habit of doing, right? So actually, sit down at your dinner table. Don't sit in front of the TV, because like I said, that's very distracting and you're not going to be able to pay attention to your delicious meal that you've cooked, or how your body's feeling during and after you've eaten that meal. So the screens could be the TV, the phone, the computer. It could also be other distractions, like just being at work in general. It could be trying to clean the house while eating. So really dedicating time to eat your meal. And it doesn't have to be 30 minutes. It could be 10 or 15 minutes of just kind of, quiet time and just a time to really fully experience your meal. So that would be the one thing, is to remove the screens and any distractions from your eating experience. Another thing is to eat slowly. And one way that you can eat slowly is to put your fork down in between bites. So eating slowly is one. I know a lot of people who say that they're fast eaters. So just telling them to eat slowly is kind of like, what do you mean eat slowly? I'm a fast eater. Like, I don't know what that means. So take a bite. Put your fork down. Put your hands in your lap. Fully chew your food. Really taste your food. And then go back in and start eating again. And so this is something that can help you slow down while eating. And this is really important because it takes about 20 minutes for the brain to recognize that it's full. So if you're scarfing your food down in 5 minutes and you're like, oh, I need some more food, I go back to the stove for more pasta, I scarf that down another 5 minutes, and then I go back again, I'm not giving my body time to tell me that it's full. So really slowing down is important when trying to practice eating mindfully. Another one is taste your food. So notice the aroma of your food. What is the texture of your food? What's the appearance of your food? What does all of this look like? So taste, it tastes amazing. I'm slightly biased, right? But the texture, my pasta is done. It's like al dente, right? So there's a little bit of bite in there, which is nice. That mixed with the creamy cheese sauce is really nice. The cheese sauce is very smooth. It's velvety. It's just a really nice eating experience. And then my salad greens offer a little bit of a contrast, right? A little bit of a crunch here. And the olive oil adds sort of a grassy flavor to it, which I know sounds weird, but again, no judgment, nothing's right or wrong here. It's a grassy flavor. The leaves are also a little tender too, so it's kind of a nice contrast with crunchy, tender greens. Heather, are there any what kind of sensory aspects are you noticing of your food? A little bit of tang from the balsamic vinegar. So even just doing this, trying to pick out flavors, smells, textures, that will actually slow your chewing down. If you're really focusing on your meal and you're trying to come up with what am I actually tasting here? It's a huge part of really, enjoying the experience of eating. Oh, Shelley said it was fresh pineapple. Oh no. Heather, I was skeptical, but actually it's good and filling. Wow. Only a couple bites in, but the pumpkin really bulks this up. Yes, it does. There's quite a bit of fiber in canned pumpkin too. So that absolutely bulks up this meal, adds some more fiber, gives it that satisfaction factor. Hey, Deanna, thanks for joining. Good to see you. Switching things up and doing eat with me too tonight. Okay, so then the other tips here. So we did number 3, number 4, appreciate your food. And, I think this is something that for a lot of us, food is so readily available. It's readily accessible. It's not this thing that is so hard to get where when we do finally get it, we really appreciate it. So I think over time, we've really lost that sense of appreciation for our food. Not everybody, but I think, generally as a society we have. So simply the act of just being appreciative of your food and really considering, where this stuff came from can be helpful in doing that. What did it take for these salad greens to grow in the field and for farmers to actually pick them? And then the process that it took to actually get to my grocery store. Excuse me. So thinking of things like that can help you appreciate your food a little bit more. Where did this cheese come from? Now, if you're someone who really supports buying local, you're going to know exactly where it came from. But it's not always possible to purchase local. And sometimes, we can't afford it. But just that simple act of really appreciating what it took for this food to get to your plate can help you eat more mindfully as well. That can help you slow it down. That can help you really enjoy the flavor of things even more. And I think some people do appreciate their food in the form of prayer, right? People pray around the table before they eat dinner. That's a form of appreciation. But just even a simple acknowledgement in your own mind, you don't have to say it out loud. You can if you want, but just that simple act of acknowledging and appreciating what it took for your food to get there. And then lastly, now that we're eating slowly, chewing completely and really tasting the food, we can start to notice how full we're actually getting. And so this is going to be a nice little segue into how you can really prevent yourself from overeating when it comes to pasta. One thing is to recognize that, yes, pasta is a carbohydrate, but just eating it, once or twice is not going to make you gain weight. So just knowing that. start, and I know that that's a very difficult mindset to change, but you have to know that, one food is not going to make or break your health or your weight. Now that we've slowed down and we're able to realize how full we are, we can really start to determine, when or what is a good amount of pasta for us to eat. So like Shelly said, a cup and a half might be good to start with, just to kind of test and experiment and see how much you would need to eat to fill you up. I've been talking a lot right now, so I'm technically not practicing mindful eating, but I haven't even gotten halfway through with my pasta, so I know I'm going to eat a little bit more. But trying to pay attention and be aware of how full you're getting is one way that you can stop eating when you are feeling full. And so here is what's called a hunger and fullness scale. And so this was developed by a couple of dietitians back in like the 70s who coined the term intuitive eating. And there's lots of dietitians now who are really practicing intuitive eating and helping their patients eat more intuitively. And this is just one principle of intuitive eating, is to recognize your fullness, being aware of how full you're getting. And so this is a scale of 0 to 10, which shows us, how we're feeling either before, during, or after a meal. So when we're starting to get full, we might be at a 6, right? So I'm like right now, I wouldn't say that I have a slightly full stomach because I've literally only taken a couple of bites. So I'm probably at a 5 right now. I'm not hungry, but I'm not full. I could still eat some more. So I am going to eat some more. If you've eaten, maybe let's say you've eaten half of a cup of pasta, you might be in the 6 area. You might feel like you have a slightly full stomach. And that's an indication that, you could still eat some more. You're not quite comfortably satisfied. So a 7, comfortably satisfied, is really where you want to stop. That's going to help you feel like you've eaten enough, you've nourished your body, you don't need any more food. Because if you go over that into the 8, 9, 10 territory, you're going to feel, a little too full, uncomfortably full, or painfully full. And it's that area when we start to not only feel bad physically, but then we also start to feel guilty, right? We start to feel guilty because we've overindulged, we've eaten too much, and we feel like we might gain weight. And all of those kind of negative thoughts flood our brain, and then we just feel really bad for eating pasta, and we swear off eating pasta forever for like the 5th time, right? Let's be real, we've all done that before. So really just using this kind of scale to help yourself determine where you're getting during mealtime can help you stop eating when you're comfortably satisfied. Now there's going to be times when you get to feeling comfortably satisfied, but you just really want more pumpkin mac and cheese, right? Like pasta is very good. You just want to keep eating it. And usually when that happens, there's something else that's overriding that decision to stop eating, and it's usually emotional based. So when you feel like you just want to eat more, like even though you're comfortably satisfied, and if you ate more, you would feel overly full, but you go back and eat more anyway, that's usually an indication that there's something else going on. There's something a little bit deeper in there. So maybe you're reaching to food for comfort for whatever reason. Maybe you had a stressful day at work. Maybe you had an argument with your significant other or a friend. Maybe you are thinking about all of the things that you have to do the next day, and so you're really stressed out, or maybe you're angry. So there's lots of different emotions that can cause people to continue eating even though they know they're full and they're satisfied. So if that's the case, then it warrants you to really just sit with those feelings and figure out what it is. Like, why do I feel like I want to go back for more food right now? Am I bored? Am I angry? Am I tired? So usually there's something that's underlying there. So these are just a few things that you can take with you each time that you eat your meal. I'm not saying that you need to be eating mindfully every single meal of every single day, because that's not realistic. But if you're somebody who, eats in front of the TV every night, or you're really trying to achieve some health goals and you feel like practicing mindful eating techniques could help you get there, then it would be wise to be a little bit more intentional about trying to eat more mindfully. Hey, Abby, I heard you were cooking with me. Food was absolutely delicious. I'm so excited. Thanks for cooking. Yay. Yay. Yes, Diana's saying chew completely and taste. Or yeah, that's what you were doing. That's right. A study out of Stanford University this week says it may also contain lead, a potent neurotoxin. Wait, what can? The canned pumpkin? Uh-oh. I need to see that study. Can you share that on here, please? So yeah, so that's just a little bit of some tips. So let me know if you have any questions about that. I'm going to take another bite of this. Do you feel like you eat mindfully? Or is there a meal, maybe like a certain meal of the day where you feel like you could maybe try to do that a little bit more often? And again, this isn't something that, happens overnight. These changes don't happen overnight. It's something you have to be intentional about on a regular basis before they really start to become second nature and incorporated into your life. Hi, Sandy. Oh, turmeric. Oh, I think I did see that. Oh, well, I didn't see the study because you said it was this week. Oh my. Interesting. So what do they recommend? Just getting like fresh turmeric? Would that be better? Probably. Unless there's lead in the ground where the turmeric was grown. Yeah, and think about how trendy turmeric is right now. People are throwing it in everything. And people are taking supplements of ground turmeric at high doses. I wonder if they recommend that people get their lead levels checked if they're supplementing with turmeric. I would. I'm not supplementing with turmeric. Oh, this is so good. What else with pumpkin can we make next month? Okay. Thanks for joining me. This was fun. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you want to do this again where you cook and eat with me. I'm happy to talk about some other topics. Yeah, so I will post the recipes, well, not the recipes, but what I'm going to be cooking in class for the month of October. We're going to keep doing Sunday nights. It seems like more people have the time to cook with me on Sunday. So it'll be Sunday nights, 6:30 p.m. right here on Facebook or YouTube, whatever you prefer. I'll go ahead and post the schedule tomorrow so you can see exactly what's going to be cooked for the month of October. And then each week I'll create an event with the ingredient list inside so you know exactly what you need. Thanks again, y'all, for tuning in. I am going to, we've got chili. Ooh, Michelle Ferris is saying chili. That's a good one. We will absolutely do chili. Diane, too much info on turmeric. Google it. Okay. I hear you. Oh, thanks, Shelly. She had a watch party going on. Awesome. Well, let me know if you have any other questions about mindful eating or intuitive eating. If you live in the Peoria area, I'm a registered dietitian with a private practice here in Peoria, and I specialize in intuitive eating. So if you're somebody who feels like you really want to work more on those mindful eating techniques, and especially if you're somebody who has dieted a lot in the past and you've got lots of diet mentality and you